Good evening, and once again, welcome to another episode of Beating COVID 19. Tonight's episode is a special episode. I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much. And give you a little history about why this began and why it's important to look back and see where it all started. A couple of weeks ago, I saw the article in the newspaper about people running away from quarantine, and I was very disappointed. I thought, why are people doing this? I mean, why would you run away from quarantine? And I was very bitter. But the next day is when I sat down to make my first video, and I have the notes here. I have all my episodes written down, and the first video was about why people run away from quarantine centers and what needs to be done to make things better for them. So after that, it all went on because I realized, okay, so I've dealt with one issue. What about number two? And number two, the second video was about 10 actions you should do and 30 days to flatten the curve. And again, I felt it nice, or I felt it humble that I could share information about COVID-19 to all of you guys. And that my wish is that you could adopt simple ideas that will keep you safe, keep those you love safe, and also keep the community safe. Number three, or the third episode, was when the 4 C's were developed. That's the first time. After trying to look for ways of putting them together, then finally the 4 C's fell in place. And that was the episode number 4. Number 3, that is. Episode number 4 was you can save 100 lives by applying the 4 C's. I mean, you can save hundreds of lives, and that was done based on the test of social distancing, and it was then we introduced the social distancing calculator, which was actually a product that had been made for you to know the effect of the amount of social distancing you apply. Number 5 was the non-medical interventions that can help you during this time of COVID, where we talked about prayer and fasting and meditation. We talked about vitamins, minerals. We even had a mention on neem and a few other things. So all these episodes will be put in the comments so that you can actually go and review with me as the channel has changed. We went on to talk about what would you do when the pandemic is through. That was sort of like number 6. What would you do when the pandemic is through? When you finished, when it's past, what happens? What happens to you? And in that one, we discussed the shift in business, the shift in an industry, the shift in life. And some jobs will be rendered obsolete, and some jobs will be requiring much more emphasis on security, on protection, on safety, on hygiene. We had quite a discussion about that. And the idea was, on the 7th episode, was to survive and thrive after the pandemic. So we talked a lot about how you'll survive and thrive. And to that end, we called them the COVID Kings. Now, the COVID Kings are people who made it and who make it through this thing and come out on top. And for that, we discussed the 3 C's again. The cause, what's the cause? What's the cause, the way you're going to do it? And what's the cost that it's going to incur to you? And in those 3 items, we set about knowing if you're going to be successful in surviving this COVID-19 pandemic, you have to be a COVID king. We went on and discussed the COVID King Part 2, which was about winners and losers, and how winners think and how losers think. Now, the most important thing is understanding the thought process so that you can get through this. And when you get to the other side, you can thrive, not just stay above water. Then we had the Labor Day edition, which was the 1st of May. And on that edition, we discussed about that people are everything. It's not about how much money you put in the balance sheet. It's not about how much profit you make at the end of the year. It's all about the people. And when you think about the people and put people first, then you'll be able to get profits. You'll be able to get percentages in terms of market share and all that kind of thing. And we discussed that on Labor Day because it was the day of the worker and nobody was working. Everything was grounded. Then we moved on to what do you do now that people aren't working? And the next episode, episode 10, was Inspired to Do Better. That was the next episode. And in that episode, we talked about things to help other people. How can you help other people so that they in turn will not forget you? And that helping things to help other people as well as things to help you. Episode 11 was Give, meaning giving is voluntary everywhere. Wanted to make it apparent that not every public giving is the only giving. You are giving of your time, of your effort, of meals, of clothes, of tokens, of jobs. You're giving. Giving is voluntary everywhere. And a true giver does not seek recognition for the gift. A true giver gives. Kiswahili tunasema tenda wema enda zako. So a true giver gives without expecting recognition. They just give. Also, episode 12 was about understanding lag time. The time between the onset of infection until the show of symptoms, until maybe possible hospitalization, depending on whether you have a complicated condition or not. The next day, we discussed about risky behavior. And on that day was when the time that we saw footage and film of people eating in public without really thinking, with all the masks over the forehead and the back or under and so on, and not really taking care. And that was the edition of risky behavior. The risky behavior that will get you infected. So, and that was also a second day we were discussing about lag time and why it's important that if we survive, if we put in 15 days of precaution or 30 days of precaution, we will bring this number to 0. Then, because of all the bad news that was going on and the numbers going up, I think I decided that we should now focus on some good news. And in episode 14, we covered some good news about the 10 good things we have learned from COVID-19. And episode 15 was The Empire Strikes Back, which was an episode which we were discussing how the human society is fighting COVID-19 by treatments and vaccines and the efforts they are making to date to make sure that we overcome this virus. And the last episode that we've done, which is episode 16, we talked about quiz night. And we had a short quiz of 5 questions, and all the answers were given to you in the comments. So those it was just for fun. It was actually something to encourage you that, you know, all these things is survivable, have some fun with it and enjoy. So again, forgive my dog. His name, he's a nice guy. He's just doing his job out there and keeping us safe. So tonight, I just want to say thank you for the first 16 episodes of beating COVID-19. We are working on new material starting tomorrow, of course, and we shall be continuing sharing the benefits and the outcomes that are required for you who's going to be going through this episode of COVID-19 and the future, what the future holds, so that as you go along, do not give up, do not give in. Beating COVID-19 is possible, and COVID is not a death sentence, it's not a life sentence. You get it once and it's over. It doesn't linger in your system, it clears, and you can live a healthy life. Lastly, I want to wish all mothers, of whom I have one, happy Mother's Day, and that they continue to be the blessings that bring blessings into this world. We thank you all for all that you're doing, and we wish you a happy Mother's Day. and may God bless you and keep you. And always remember, mother knows best. She told you long time ago to wash your hands and to not, before eating, after coming from the loo, and so on and so forth. So they knew these things long before we were actually involved in this pandemic, and now everyone has to tell you to wash your hands. So if you have a mother, she's alive, bless her today, or she's now today, with something great. Also, if you have a mother and she's passed, we wish her a good rest where she is. And we know that mothers are special people, and we ask the Lord to bless them and keep them well, and you do the same to yours. Thank you. God bless you. Take care, and see you tomorrow. Oh, yeah, the best way you say it in YouTube language, see you on the next one. Thank you.